It's Darrell the Galaxy, and we're back with episode 2 of Nize What? And we're here with Mike All Hip Hop. Now, Mike All is a native of Toronto. He's also Guyanese like me. Hey, bada, okay. And he does hip hop, rap. He's an educator of hip hop and rap. He knows a lot about the history, and he brings that old school vibe with his music, but modern in a modern way where people are able to listen and still bop your head. So, Mike, I gotta ask you, when did you start rap or writing?
Excellent. Greetings. Nice to have a conversation with you like this, and hello to all your viewers and people. In terms of rap, doing it myself, my first time performing was in grade 3. I was 9 years old, and at the time, Criss Cross was very popular. They were this duo, two teen youths, and they had this big hit called Jump. And at a talent show, I performed it with my friend Kyron, and it wasn't like our own original raps, but that was the first time performing. But like that hip hop bug caught me early from my dad, from music that he would pick up and making his little mixtapes, going to play the record, going to tracks, buying his vinyl, and making cassette tapes. In terms of writing my own raps, that would be like grade 9, when I was inspired by Roots, what they do. But I was always freestyling before that, like grade 6, freestyling at recess. And I was always writing poetry since like kindergarten, grade 1. As soon as I could write and hold a pencil, I was creating.
Wow, so from
Yep,
time, from time, that's a lot of artists like in the city. It's always been
yep.
in us, it's definitely a part of the culture and like how we grow up. They call us the melting pot here in the GTA, and although we're the melting pot, we do have significant ways of expressing our
Yes.
culture. And one thing about the Canadian rappers I realize is we love, like, I'm not even a rapper, no, but the
I saw you rap
kid.
a couple times on IG stories, even though you might have it was up there for a little time being. You still had
Yeah.
fun with it.
I mean, I'm trying to get into it a little bit more, so maybe you can for real school me
Most
on some
definitely,
things.
you can build.
But Canadian rap, like, there is always the conscious aspect and essence to it.
Mm,
And I think it's just very important to our hearts, which is why we can't help but put something to get your heads turning,
true.
and like get your conscious more alert. And it's just interesting that we're in an era right now where that's still happening in the world. You have your conscious rap, you have your conscious music, or music where that's just more
Hmm.
positive, music that's just more elevating, but it doesn't seem to get as much limelight.
True.
It's not as mainstream, let's
Yes.
say. But I will say, we have a couple of mainstream like J. Cole,
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar, and they like say what it is. But when it comes to, let's say, Canadians now, it's a little bit different.
Mm,
The mainstream here doesn't give us that much space for rappers that are trying to tell y'all what's up.
very true.
So, what do you think about the difference between Canadian rap and everywhere else, and what do you think about it not being mainstream, and if we're able to get there or not?
True. Very good question. I'll go back to Maestro and quote to preface my answer. People talk about a Canadian hip hop industry. Maestro would say there isn't really an industry. There's a scene. An industry, you think about many different movements popping at the same time, a machine, like an assembly line, different factories, everything pumping full steam ahead. In Canada, we might have a couple people popping at a few sporadic moments, but not like a massive movement all at the same time. And a lot of that we can trace back to whether it's conscious or not, just a lot of black music, period, doesn't get the support that it should in Canada. If it's not country, rock, major labels aren't really funding and promoting music. Urban music is, there's racism in the industry, so urban music is often not given attention or given that investment that it deserves. And we don't have like the Russell Simmons, the entrepreneurs behind the scenes,
Dame
the
Dash.
Diddy's, yeah, the Dame Dashes, the Dre's. We had Ivan Berry like in the 90s with Beat Factory and things of that nature, but we need more people like that, the businessmen behind who will invest. And we need to also break down that color barrier, that racism that's within the industry, where if you're not like rock, pop, country, you're not really getting a lot of love.
That's so interesting you say that. And it's like it's almost an elephant in the world, or the room of the world, where it's like, if you are black, Afro of descent, Afro indigenous, Afro Caribbean, African, whatever, native, I mean, that's a whole nother episode, but if you are of people that look like us,
BIPOC, people of color.
yeah, and you're not necessarily promoting, not that there's anything wrong with some of the things I'm about to say, but not like when it comes to women, okay?
Mm,
Make sure you shake your ass and make sure, which is honestly sexuality, do your thing.
yes.
But let's say the drugs and the murder.
Mm,
I remember seeing a reel a couple weeks ago. I don't even know the rapper's name, but I think he was from Ohio. And he was saying, "Yo, we're in the club, about rapping to these songs, and each rap song is murder,
yes.
murder, murder." He's like, that is psychopathic
It
behavior.
is. It is, yo. That's like celebrating cultural genocide. And to quote Talib Kweli, a dope MC, he said, these cats drink champagne to toast death and pain, like slaves on a ship talking about who got the flyest chain. It seems like yeah, a lot. There's so much talent and dope artists saying real things with messages, but that often gets suppressed and replaced with only a limited range of topics. And I mean, we do need street narratives. We do need documentation of reality. But some of these presentations are exaggerations and or fabrications and or just highlighting at the expense of the positivity, highlighting people at their worst. And part of that is shout out to Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet. They want to suppress black intelligence, black achievement, and reinforce those stereotypes that we can only be certain things, we can only play certain positions. What did Maestro also say? Shout out to the Godfather. The next guy needs to Maestro Fresh West. A dignified brother makes you paranoid. That was from Watching Zeros Grow off of Not His Kid Can't Be From Canada. Classic album. Oh, sorry, my apologies. That's Watching Zeros Grow off of Black Tie Affair, his second album, and my personal favorite.
Can you repeat that line?
Oh, a dignified brother makes you paranoid. That one. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like whenever there's an example of brothers, people of color striving, challenging those stereotypes, they often get the rug pulled up from under them, or they don't get as much attention because it's like, no, you're not supposed to exist. How you're supposed to be doing these things. You're not supposed to elevate and help your people elevate. So they'll take some of our so-called leaders or the people who have the attention and encourage them to keep perpetuating negative cycles to keep us, stagnated at a lower level.
Right. And a lot of it's a
Mm,
distraction to, again, keep you at lower vibrations. Now, like lower vibrations are made for a reason. So obviously it's how you do things.
mm,
Lower vibrations could mean a woman twerking her ass, because I'm gonna break something down very quick because this is a very multidimensional, you know, platform. But twerking is essentially helping activate your root chakra. When it comes to the root chakra, that has to just do with your lower half of your body. We're all energy, vibration, frequency, so shout out to the girls that be twerking, because people don't really get that we need to move our bodies, okay? That's just how we are naturally. But when it comes to harming people or influencing harm, that's where we need to find a
yeah,
line. You know what
most
I mean?
definitely.
Like it's a thing where if you're talking about harm, why can't you talk about it in a way of like, we have an army, or we're
Mm,
warriors, so don't mess with us. Like we're undefeated. Like why are there always ops? Why is there always opposition? Why is there always,
that
square
confrontation.
offs?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's that tactic of divide and conquer, right? Pit people against each other rather than unify against a common enemy. Because if we linked up together and we're all on the same team, then there's no way that they could really hold us back at the level that they are. And I'm a male, so I'm gonna speak. Whatever I'm gonna say is from male perspective. I'm not a woman. I believe a grown adult woman, they have ownership over their sexuality, and that's empowering to them. So bless, most definitely. Yeah, but like even like self destruction, there was a whole big movement within hip hop. The MCs were consciously trying to remind us, like, why are we promoting all this violence and negativity, and especially when it's causing genocide. There's a difference between talking about, like, the problems in your neighborhood and how it's flooded with firearms and drugs that cause conflict and problems, rather than glorifying it and making it seem cool and making it seem like that's the way to be, or that's the route to manhood, or that's the only options that there are. It's like, are you raising awareness, or are we just perpetuating negativity that's going to kill ourselves?
Right. Perpetuating negativity. I always use that word, perpetuate, because if we're not careful, it becomes insanity.
Mm,
And it's like it becomes nonsense, and then again, it becomes a cycle.
Yes.
And it's I guess it's really up to someone in whatever neighborhood they are, whatever location they are, to know that, so that they can, I guess, move out of the hood for themselves, quote unquote. Because some people will say you're obligated to go back to the hood and help. But when it comes to music, some people are really just trying to escape the very same
True.
perpetuation. But then, in order to escape, you got to perpetuate. So it's
Mm.
like it's like a
Yep.
one by one,
Yep.
you trickle out type of thing. It can't actually be a unity type of situation where
Yep.
everyone clicks.
And if you break it down, I believe it was, I forget the author's name. Sorry, I've been in university a long, long time ago. But this lady broke down these methods of majority um, techniques of domination, and one of them was called decapitation. I mean, yeah, there's literal decapitation too, that was in that whole slavery system. But you take a leader, right? You give the leader perks, you give the leader rewards, and you use that leader to keep the others in check, keep them good. They're good. They're eating good. But then you use them to suppress the others or keep them in a certain line. And that's kind of what they're doing with the rappers. Some, not, I should say some rappers, where they're having them get a little financial reward. But what's the cost if to get that reward for yourself, it's maybe keeping your people at a lower level type of thing.
It's actually
Mm,
way more work to be a leader of evolution and
for sure.
expansion and togetherness, because you got to do work rather than a leader of destruction. You just mashing shit up. I feel like if everyone had more passion with understanding that we should be like Wu Tang, Wu Tang for the children.
Yeah,
Like,
for the babies.
what about the next
Yep, yep.
generation?
The Wu
Like,
Tang's a great example, man. Those guys are real street dudes. They have their, like, half of them are felons with criminal records, and they did their dirt, and they rap about it too. But they rap about it in a way it's like, yo, look how bad, look at what we're living through, and we're trying to like break out of this and help you break out of it, give you some tools too, so that you can elevate yourself and your condition and your peoples. Wu Tang wasn't just one person. They brought their team, and each of their teams had teams, and then they kept like keeping that within their family and bettering each other. So that's a great example. I'm glad you brought them up.
eight immortal gods. It's not a matter of followers versus leaders. If everyone realized that they're a leader,
True.
and this is my own opinion, because people will be like, there needs to be followers. But if everyone realized that they have a leading way of doing something, we all share this whole world. That means everyone's leading something,
True.
which is building and expanding everything.
This is true.
But everyone is either following or don't know how to be a proper
Mm,
leader. And it stems down to music for real, because music can unify the world, it can bring togetherness, and it sounds cliche and a little cheesy, but it's that powerful of a
amen.
tool.
It
So
is.
why not see what it can do on the other side?
Yep.
We've been in warfare for at least 50 years with music,
Mm,
and it's a good example is they cloned Tyrone in the
yeah,
movie.
great movie.
And the DJ's in the club and he's like, let's switch it, and they become
Mm,
zombies. It's like this is actually
yep.
happening, especially with the next generation. So
Yep.
it's like the people that truly care, we are sporadically placed in the city, in the world, so we do what we can when it comes to just how we want to influence others and how we let others influence us. So moving forward, how can we use how can we keep using music for better vibrations and more healing? Like, what would be a couple of things or a few things you could
Yes.
say moving forward that we could do?
For an individual artist perspective, I would say balance. I mean, try to speak on a balanced range of topics. I know the industry machine rewards Coke, 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 Pepsi, Pepsi, like the same product over and over again. But it's good to diversify because, like, if you're a true artist, you're reflecting all shades of reality. Or to take it back to Wu Tang, there's 36 chambers. Wu Tang had their Wu Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to F with chamber, but at the same time, on the same album, they had After the Laughter, talking about some of the aftermaths of that side, if you want to call it that. So that balance, 36 chambers. And I think, also a plug, being an educator, being a hip hop educator, I think in the schools, in education, that's a great way to use music as a way to help heal our communities. Exposing youth to non-mainstream messaging in music and encouraging them to pick up the pencil and write their own story, or if they're visual artists, draw their own story. But I think hitting the youth with the opportunity to see different types of music and create their own art, I think that's key. That's crucial.
That's real, yeah. And keep the art and the music in the school. Stop pulling out the
Yep.
program.
And the school boards and the city, like shout out to Cardinal, Chauclair, Socrates. These people came up off of Fresh Arts, which was grant money from the city to help build people, youth, use the music as a positive outlet, give them something productive and constructive to do. And of course, those type of programs got cut. People out after school not having community centers, places to go. Devil makes work for idle hands. So what are you going to put in your hands? Let's put a positive tool, something productive that youth can build with.
I agree. It's that we definitely got to take a look into more grants. I feel like there's so many different types of grants, not just for like recording music, but different ways of building like infrastructure for things like that to happen, for like having those open spaces for creatives and
Yes.
the youth, especially because they want to create and express themselves. If they don't have an outlet to do it, then they're gonna do either find their own way to do it, or again just think they can and get influence in a different way.
Yes.
We don't want that.
No.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rise, Randall Ajay, Scarborough dude, Ontario's poet laureate. He's doing big things with his Rise movement. Exactly that, creating space for artists across the city to share their piece, to hear other pieces, and have that safe space to be in a positive light. We need more like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have um a segment question.
Yes.
What where were you when you created the song Legendary?
Legendary. Which song is this? Legendary?
Yeah, your song Legendary.
I don't have a song called Legendary.
2015. Really?
You mean Leadership? Oh, no,
Leadership.
no problem. It's all good.
Yes, leadership.
Leadership.
My
Okay, no
apologies.
sweat, no sweat. I think that was inspired by like leadership in our school. I'm an educator with the Toronto Catholic District School Board, and at the time they had different leadership camps. Students go, and I think one of the my grade 8 colleague was like, "Can you write a rap that could be a theme song for leadership for our program?" And I think that was the inspiration for it. That was
Wow.
8 years ago, so I had to dig back, but I think that's
Yeah,
where it
no,
came
and then
from.
I said the wrong word, and then it was like, ah.
No, good.
And I'm trying to maybe because the song's legendary.
Oh, thank you. Now
Yeah,
I gotta
you're
write a song called Legendary.
period.
And
There
yo,
you
you're gonna sing
go.
on it and
Yeah.
maybe
Oh,
rap.
see, look at that. That's
We
perfect.
manifested that.
Yep. We now there's another song with the L with another L word. So when you wrote that, okay, I was gonna say like your wordsmith game is
Thank
crazy.
you.
Like
Appreciate that.
it's there's so much depth and then rhythm and then musicality and knowledge. How do you fit it all in these songs like kind of like Africanuck? Where
Yes.
was your mind at with that one?
Africanuck was a beautiful process to build. I'll tell you, it's a deep story. From thought to publication and release, that song took 10 years in total. 2008, I went to a board event for celebrating Black History Month, and I like rapped the chorus in front of the audience before our students did a little drama. So I had that chorus building in my head. And then over time, I'm reading books, watching documentaries, catching lines, catching facts, putting it together, right? And then I think like 2017, 2018, whatever, I was like, I had the beat, and I'm like, yo, let me put everything together. And at that point, it took me maybe like a couple hours, but I had done the research previously, and I went through my notebooks, took some lines from here and there, and then just filled in the rest type of thing. And that's like a song I'm most proud of. I specifically made that because I felt like our school system was lacking resources focusing on the Black Canadian experience, and I wanted to give them something where they can see themselves, they could learn about our history as African Canadians, as Black Canadians, and then be inspired to add on. Because the cool thing about that song is since like 2020, when we came back from that whole pandemic stuff, we've had students do remixes of that. So I build with a couple students. I say like research a couple people of African Canadian descent, write a verse about them, and then they would perform it on the PA. They would perform it at public assemblies in school. And then when we get back to it, we're gonna go and actually take it from school to school and perform there. So I'm honored to be part of that song, and hopefully it'll spark some inspiration for our next generation.
Wow, you truly are inspiring
Thank
with
you.
the passion that you have for music, for the youth, for knowledge, sharing it. It's something that I know there's many people in the city that are like that, you
Most
know,
def.
and even having these conversations about music and just the reality of it, like it's good to talk about because it's like we clearly need to break through and make a new lane or
Yes.
road or highway, like create something new, because that's what hip hop is. It's
Yep.
the culture. It's something that's within us.
Yes.
You know, it's not just one genre
Mm-hmm.
of music. So it's like we're able to transform this in some way or another, you know, not just on one spectrum of it, of negativity and murder
Yeah.
and like again the drugs, like just like the lean, like we gotta really detox, y'all. We
Yeah.
gotta
Detox
detox,
is real.
like musically,
Mentally,
like energetically, mentally, you know.
keep a balance. You know, can't eat only chicken. As much, yo, plug, shout out to Mona's Roti because we're around the way, we're near Mona's. You can't only eat Mona's Roti every single day. You gotta also balance it out. Have some callaloo, have some greens. You know, keep a balance.
Facts about. We should have got some doubles for this interview. You know what? The next interview we're gonna have doubles. We're gonna talk about motors. We're
They're
gonna
gonna
talk about,
sponsor us, right?
yeah, period. That's what exactly was gonna shout out to Mona. I'm so glad we finally got together and
Yes.
like spoke about things because I've known you for a few years now and you've always been sharing the knowledge and sharing different links of music that I might not have even listened to. So it's just so great to have spoken to you today. Shout out to a 1332 for having us in their space. You know, if y'all want to check out their services, is MikeAllHipHop social handle. You can check him out on Instagram as well as your Spotify. Your
Yep.
platform
Music's on
is
Spotify too.
MikeAll, right?
Shout out to Mr. Mint, the man whose studio we're using also does production. Speaking of productions, I just want to quickly plug 2 songs were mentioned. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the producers. Leadership was produced by Live, my homie from Lieberman, and African Up was produced by Roy Spurth, my other brother from Lieberman as well too. And I got to shout out the head of the class. That's the Educators. I'm part of a collective, 10 other teachers from Ontario, also using hip hop in the classroom, just trying to bring a balance and keep it each one, teach one, reach one.
Wow, and it's called
The album's called Head of the Class.
Oh, the album. Okay,
Head of the
the
Class.
album.
And the crew is the Hip Hop Educators, Triple H.
I love that, Educators.
Yes, miss.
Shout out to MikeAllHipHop. And I'm Darrell the Galaxy. This was episode 2 of Nize What. If you're interested in having an interview as well, you can email nizewhat@gmail.com. I'll leave it right there. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and share, because these types of discussions are so important to have throughout the GTA, the world, and the universe. We'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.
Peace. One love.
Yo, hip hop is the culture my people live. A needed lift, stage to relive.